A 9-year political soap opera. A former Collin County judge convicted of bribery and then cleared in her own courthouse. But Suzanne Wooten isn't finished fighting yet. And tonight she's talking to News 8's Tanya Iser.
Suzanne Wooten and Wes Wayland have walked the path together.
I just didn't know that we'd get through this.
For better, for worse, those were the vows they took 17 years ago.
You are my world. You're everything to me.
They've seen each other through the worst of it. It's getting better now that the state's highest court has exonerated Wooten, a former judge, of bribing her way onto the bench.
One of the things that probably was the hardest for me, that weighed on me the most, was thinking that I would die and our children would have, a convicted felon as a mother.
Last month, she walked out of the Collin County courthouse, no longer a convicted felon. Wooten made history in 2009. She was the first woman to defeat a sitting district judge in Collin County. It did not go over well with the courthouse powers that be.
I was not who they wanted. They liked my predecessor.
She tried to ignore the courthouse intrigue. She would soon learn the intrigue could not be ignored. The Collin County District Attorney's Office launched a bribery investigation. 5 grand juries heard evidence and didn't indict. The 6th indicted Wooten, her campaign manager, and a couple she had never even met. Prosecutors claimed Dave Carey and his wife had funneled $150,000 to Wooten's campaign consultant in exchange for favorable rulings in a contentious child custody case.
Judge Wooten didn't receive any money, and Judge Wooten paid all her bills. It was the most preposterous bribery scheme I had ever seen. It was just a legal fiction.
Wooten made no rulings in the case. She'd recused herself within months of taking the bench, partly because one of the lawyers had been her campaign treasurer. Wooten was stunned on that day in 2011 when the jury convicted her.
I just stood there and thought, I cannot believe this is happening.
Prosecutors gave her 10 minutes to decide. Take 10 years probation and forgo her right of appeal, or let the jury decide.
If I didn't have my husband and my children, I'd have said, yeah, bring it. I'll go sit in prison. I'd be fine. Eventually, I would be fine. My family would not be.
Her judicial portrait was removed from the courthouse, her name stricken from the county computer files.
I guess they decided, well, if we take her portrait and throw it in the trash, we erase all the electronic records. It didn't happen.
Suzanne was barred from school field trips and PTA meetings. She couldn't even travel to Tarrant County without permission from her probation officer.
For me, the hardest part was not being able to protect my family, not being able to take care of things for her.
Last year, the Court of Criminal Appeals paved the way for Wooten's exoneration when they threw out the Carey's convictions.
For the longest time, I saw this. Now I'm starting to feel a little better. It's still not there yet. It's not even yet.
Wooten's planning to sue the people who prosecuted her, contending she was maliciously prosecuted.
You should not be entitled to do this, to abuse your position of power, to manipulate the system, and honestly just to go after people because you don't like them.
Her portrait is back on the wall of the courthouse.
Okay, let's go.
Wooten and her husband are going to Paris to renew their vows under the Eiffel Tower.
I hope you love it.
I will. You thought of it. It's wonderful. I love you.
I love you.
Together they know they can do anything. Tanya Iser, Channel 8 News.
All right, so after watching that, a lot of you are probably left with the question, how could this have happened in the first place? Aren't there supposed to be checks in place to keep an innocent person out of jail? The short answer there, of course, is yes, and we are looking into that. We'll be taking a closer look, in fact, at the prosecutors who spearheaded this case.
Cowboys